everybody? It's time for another Talking with Topher. This is episode 280. It's August 14th, 2025, and as always, I'm so happy to be alive. Before I get into anything today, let me start off the way I always do, by saying thank you. That's right, thank you to all of my subscribers. You are the reason I keep coming back week after week, and if you're new, stopping by, checking it out, hit that subscribe button. Of course, if you want your opportunity to be on the podcast, tell your story, or be a guest, hey, talkinwithtopher at gmail.com is the official email of the podcast. Send an audio, video, or type it out. Don't forget about that link tree. It's in the description below the video, along with all of the links discussed on today's podcast. Actually, pretty recently, I did find out that most of the Facebook links, and I think some of my X links and stuff, they are being censored on YouTube. So if you want to check out all the links, go to Spotify or Rumble. All right, and with that housekeeping out of the way, let's get into the episode today. So this is a Topher After Dark. I'm drinking my kombucha. I got my Scarface cocaine shirt on, huh? Oh, I'm here to party, and I've got some exciting things to talk about. I may have indulged in some fungi myself, and it's keeping me warm and fuzzy. So let's get this party started, all right? So this U.S. teen influencer was detained while attempting solo flight to 7 continents. And would you like to know where he was detained at as he was flying all these areas? I will tell you right now. It's Antarctica. Why did he get detained in Antarctica? Why was he stopped from making the flight that nobody's allowed to make for some weird reason? He had plenty of fuel. He knows what he's doing, and he could have probably made the trip. But for some reason, they stopped him. He was posing a picture in Geneva, Switzerland in August. He was attempting to fly all 7 continents solo, hitch a path of rough air this weekend when Chilean authorities detained him for changing his flight plan without their permission and landing in Antarctica. No. All right, so I guess if you change the flight plan, that could cause some issues. All right, well, I mean, at the end of the day, though, you're still stopping him, right? Because he wasn't supposed to land there. Why wasn't he supposed to land there? What is in Antarctica that you don't want us to see, huh? Let's see. He flew over the Philippines. And now he's being, he has to go to the Chilean court, decreed a 90-day investigation period for this case, during which time Guo, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, must remain in Chile. That's terrible, man. I'm so sorry to hear this. It's friggin' terrible. Absolutely terrible. I don't get it at all. Let the kid fly his plane by himself, whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, is he hurting anybody? What is he going to find out? What is in Antarctica that they don't want us to know about? What is it? There's something. They're hiding something. They are. I'm telling you right now. And this kid was about to find out what it was, and he got stopped. That's what this is all really about. Now, tragedy is hit everywhere. Now, I'm going to look his name up. But Theo from the Bill Cosby Show, so tragedy really hit this week. First, we had Malcolm Jamal Warner died by drowning while swimming he was swimming off of Costa Rica and somehow drowned while swimming. Then the next day, what do we hear? Hulk Hogan dies at 71. Now this one gets a little bit more suspicious. I kind of felt bad for the other guy. He was only 54, right? That really makes me think about my mortality at my age. Hulk was very surprising and, pretty upsetting. I guess a lot of people see him as a racist bigot, but I see him as the Hulk, as somebody who is in WWE, now known as WWF. But I guess a lot of people with the docs have a problem with the Hulk. Well, he was healthy. There was nothing wrong with him. And now he's dead. He went in for a routine surgery and came out of that surgery brain dead. Absolutely just terrible, you know? Very, very shocking. And I still think there's something up with that. I think there's a little bit more to investigate there. Why? Why are these routine surgeries going wrong? Well, because they can, right? So because something can go wrong, you sign a waiver, and if it does go wrong, it takes all liability out of their hand. But could this be another Joan Rivers situation, right? She went in for plastic surgery or Botox or whatever, but she said a few things and now is not on the planet anymore. So is it that far-fetched when these things happen to people that get in other people's ways or may not be doing or be on the same path as those people, so they have to get them off the path, right? They got to get them out of here. Another one that passed was Ozzy, dead at 76. Now, he just did his final tour. He did it with Black Sabbath, which was like crazy because they haven't been together in, I don't know, has it been 20 years, 25 years? I thought he was going to die shortly after the Osbournes finalized their last season. But I did hear that he looked terrible on stage, but he was still singing. So that part is very impressive because even though the rest of them was obviously falling apart from old age and drug use, at least his voice held on to the very end. You know what I mean? So I wasn't really shocked about Ozzy. And Keith Richards is still alive, dude. Like, isn't that the most crazy part of it all is that the person that probably did the most drugs ever is still kicking around today. I don't know, man. It's a wild ride everybody's on, and you know, unfortunately for Ozzy, his came to his final train stop, I guess I would say, you know. But yeah, crazy week with people just friggin' dropping dead. I mean, that was what, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week, which is now 3 weeks ago. Now, I think I got a whole entire segment on the Jews, Israel, war, Iran, and how they may all be linked together. This has been wild for me to look at. What if these wars were all put in place by Israel? This has all been planned by Israel. And instead of China being our sleeping evil competitor or problem, it was Israel all along. Isn't it always the people that you know the best or hold the closest, the ones that stab you the hardest? So this is a theory I came up with, and I'm running with it right now because a lot of stuff is happening. Israel's behind most of it. And if it wasn't for Russia and Ukraine already fighting between themselves, I would think that had something to do with Israel too. I believe that Israel is making a move, and it's all happening right in front of our faces. But let's check out the breadcrumbs that led me there. So, this one here, why are Talmudic rabbis obsessed with multiculturalism? There seems to be nothing biblical or holy about it. Forbid the whites to mate with the whites. The white women must cohabitate with the members of dark races, the white men with black women. Thus, the white race will disappear, means the end of the white man, and our most dangerous enemy will become only a memory, and our race will rule undisputed over the world. Our superior intelligence will easily enable us to retain mastery over a world of dark peoples. Oh my God, dude, that sounds horrible. But he is called Nahum Rabinowitz, Canadian racist rabbi. Oh my God, dude. Yeah, that was pretty damn racist. I didn't even know where I was going with that, but yeah, that was just pretty racist. Look, all of these things that we talk about on here, that I talk about, that my friends talk about, yeah, sure, they are always in a theoretical way. But this stuff being pointed out, and being said at any point in time shows that there's something behind what they're actually doing. You know what I mean? Like that's a pretty big breadcrumb. Like they're trying to literally tear people down by making sure the color of the skin doesn't exist anymore. All right, so Khazaria. It is important to note that the Rothschilds claim to be Jewish, but are in fact Khazars from Mongolian Eastern Europe. So the Rothschilds are not even Jewish? Could this be true? I don't know, man, but this is wild if they're not. Because we thought they were, and they killed the Tartarians, and the Jews overrun the world, and in the background, it's them, right? But what if they're more?
Important to note that the Rothschilds claim to be Jewish, but are in fact Khazars from Mongolian Eastern Europe. Like Eisenhower, the Rothschilds have Asiatic Mongolian genes, and not genes of Judaic people. The Rothschilds are like 95% of the Jews today, and have Khazar genes, and are now known as Ashkenazi Jews. But Georgia and Ukraine are 800 to 1,000 miles north of Palestine. Fact, every prime minister of Israel has been a Khazar Ashkenazi Jew, with no connection to Semite people at all. An ultimatum was delivered by Russia and other surrounding nations impacted by the Khazar murders and robberies that they must reject paganism and choose between Judaism, Christianity, or Islam as their official state religion. The Khazarian king chose Judaism, but despite his promise, the oligarchs kept practicing ancient pagan Babylonian black magic, or secret Satanism. The king melded these practices with Judaism and created a secret satanic hybrid religion, derived from Babylonian Talmudism, written by hired rabbis. The deep dark secret of the occult ceremonies was that they were all based on ancient Baal worship, also known as worship of the owl. It involves child sacrifice, with bleed-outs, blood drinking, and eating of children's hearts. So these evil practices continue, and all these are part of the Khazarian mafia today. In 900 AD to 1200 AD, Russian conquests were made into the Khazar kingdom, and eventually drove most of them out. The Russian prince, Svyatoslav, made war upon the Khazars. The Russians created the gradual fall of the Khazars, so in a matter of a decade, the Russians removed most Khazar presence. Unfortunately, the Khazarian leaders had a well-developed spy network and were able to escape across Europe, taking their vast fortune in gold and silver. They infiltrated Europe and Slavic nations, and perhaps back into Asia, infecting many nations and city-states, including as far as Venice, Spain, and most of Central Europe. In secret, they continued their satanic child blood and sacrifice rituals, all for their trusted Baal to give them the whole world and all its riches. Ever since, the Khazars have plotted eternal revenge against the Russians and the surrounding nations that invaded Khazaria and drove them out of power.
Man, that's wild. I mean, if they've been covering up the fact that they are not Jewish, well, Semite, right? What's the difference? I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't really know the difference between all the Catholics either. But I don't think it's really necessary to know those things. I really don't. Obviously, I still have a hard time believing in all this wonderful stuff, but I do believe that people would lie to put themselves in a position to better themselves or power. Anybody will lie to get there. And most of the people that we deal with will do almost anything to get that power. So, I mean, is it really that far off to completely lie about your lineage and bloodline to empower yourself or get into a group of people who have power that you can acquire and utilize for yourself? I think those things are all pretty true. I really do. So, because those things are already pretty true and people have done them, I wouldn't say that they didn't do it. Did they kill off the Tartarians? Did they help Russia? Maybe kill off the Khazarians? I mean, could it all be true? If it is, man, this is way more than what we've ever been told, and it's actually way more fun. I want it to be true because it's more fun. I mean, if this is really our true history that is happening right now in front of our eyes, and we're documenting it and we're going over it, this is wild. I mean, this is like it's like watching General Hospital for like a month and finally, something happens. You know what I mean? But like we've been told our entire lives, 50, 60, 70 some odd years, if not longer, that things were the way they told us they are. And now you're like, wait a minute, this would be so much cooler and make a ton of more sense. I think just having gravity to be measurable is a game changer for reality itself. And I think having gravity measurable would be, I mean, I think it would help with so many things. I really do. Like, think about it. It's not an imaginary thing anymore. It's not just this force that holds us on here. It's something that's actually happening, a magnetic pull, and it's measurable. That's so crazy. All right, so this whole war was planned, everybody. Here we go. I'm getting into it now. But this is all, everything that I've been leading up to is leading to this. I'm going to let Von Teasy explain everything in his own words, but man, I'm telling you, this stuff is so interesting.
Hey, this Israel war was planned and is leading up to something very evil.
Israel was created as the instrument to bring about the Battle of Armageddon and the fulfillment of prophecy, a war that will be so terrible, where nuclear weapons will be used, so that the American citizens and the other people in the world will get down on their knees and beg for no more war. And what is the answer to that? They're going to be told the only way we can guarantee no more war is if we destroy the sovereignty of nations and we come together as one humanity in a one world government.
Right.
Now I'm telling you, unless the American people wake up and stop it, starting in about 1996, the Battle of Armageddon will become a reality. Babylon is in Iraq. Read the book of Revelations. Whether you believe in the book or not, read it, because the men who are bringing this about are using it as their script.
When things start getting out of hand and you start running out of resources that you need to survive, you're going to start looking at the higher ups. This is one of the last steps before this big shit happens. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be a big reset. If you pay attention, you can see the shift of energies on the planet. Over the last 4 or 5 years, people have been making content about self-sustainability, taking care of your own health, growing your own food. Lock in, wake up, use your potential to be self-sustainable and reach your godlike abilities before these niggas fulfill their evil prophecy to play God.
Oh, man. Yeah, so see, this is what I'm talking about. There's something coming, everybody. I don't know what it is. I can't tell the future, but this is supposedly a prophecy, this one world order, and that is unfortunately a really good way to have all of us go, oh my God, yes, we should be doing this because, well, then we won't have any more war, right? No more war. Really? Can the whole world get along as we all follow the exact same rules under one group of people, I guess? I mean, it's just the WHO. So, I mean, that's a group, right? So, I mean, it's crazy. That's crazy. So, something large could pop off to cause all of us to be like, yeah, you know what? That's a great idea. Holy shit. I wonder what it's going to be. I wonder when it's going to happen. Because this is probably the most plausible idea I've heard yet, where this could actually be something that would be the turning and tipping point all at the same time. Because it would cause enough fear to have enough people around the world agree. Ugh, man, I don't know. I don't want them to get what they want, but boy, oh boy, it seems like they're really good at manipulating all of us, right? It's crazy. All right, so remember when they found the buried Nephilim? I heard about the buried Nephilim, and unfortunately, I do believe it is now, I think it's been taken out of there. But check this out. This is wild, dude. All right, so this has got some Metallica music, and I can't play it. So remember when they found the buried Nephilim? All right, they found it, and then requesting documents pertaining to the resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh, the location of his body, and the location of the buried Nephilim. This is the best footage that this Notorex Drakel found, which is of the Nephilim. Trust your own eyes. You can see the body. It's covered in a gold plate covering. The body actually looks in relatively good condition. There's like a gold fish on the chest with, I'm hoping, oh no, that's not a mask. That's actually his face. How is it so well preserved? That's crazy. Is that, so that's how they found him? That body looks like plastic. Does it not? Wow, look at all the gold in there, and they're zooming in on all the artifacts that are sitting there with them. Those are all solid gold. I think this has a little bit to do with Iran as well. So check this out. I love these guys, by the way.
Have you ever heard of the story, the Epic of Gilgamesh? The story was written 2000 BC. The story talks about how he was 2/3 God and 1/3 man. Claim was that he was 17 feet tall.
Oh, man.
And he was this brutal king, like just tyrant. The story goes that he was buried under the Euphrates River.
That's drying up.
Well, here's the thing. In 2003, a archaeologist by the name of Jörg Fassbinder, he was in the Mesopotamia area doing like the whole LiDAR thing. And what he said is, I have found the tomb of Gilgamesh.
Oh my gosh.
So, but it's underground, right? So they have to like dig it up. Guess what happened 1 month later? Shutdown.
Earthquake.
The U.S. invades Iraq.
Oh my gosh!
No way.
This is where it gets crazy.
Yeah.
All the archaeological sites were then stopped in Iraq, so stop digging. They said, you're out of here. But the locals around this encampment, the U.S. encampment, reported that the U.S. military were digging at night, taking things out of the ground and putting them onto trucks and driving them off.
We're villains.
But right after they found the buried Nephilim, the U.S. invaded Iraq 1 week after the founding of the legendary tomb of Gilgamesh. He was the Nephilim. He was mighty man, man of renowned sons and fallen angels, written in an ancient book, Gilgamesh, the Book of Enoch. So we went in and started a war, and then all of a sudden, the cavern for this is just, well, I guess the word would be raped, right? It was just stripped, nothing left of it, emptied out, gone. Iraq and it is invaded by us, and then all of a sudden we have now acquired the area where the Nephilim is. We heavily guarded it and did not let anybody in or out. Now, why would we do that? Unless we are trying to hide something, right? The Book of Enoch. We don't want anybody to know about the Book of Enoch. Why? Because it tells you about the Tartarians. It tells you about our lost civilization. But, I mean, that is wild to think about that, like, you know, why would the U.S. not want you to know about Gilgamesh, the Nephilim, unless they're trying to hide these true stories from us? Unless they are really, really trying to stick to their narrative and tell us what it is. And the more that this is like Trump right now going, hey, we're not releasing the list because, you know, I mean, why are we even talking about it anymore? We need to protect the victims on the list. There's no list. We just need to move on. That's because you're on the list, dude. That's the only reason you're doing that. That's the only reason you would cover it up the way you're covering it up. That's the exact same thing the U.S. government is doing by taking this, hiding it from us, and then making it so that nobody can go back there and look at it ever again. They stole footage. They stole documents. They stole a whole bunch of things from a bunch of journalists and archaeologists, you know? So I just think the whole thing's crazy. So this is by Les Tate. Look, I feel like a lot of people think that we have always done the right thing in America. I have always been under the impression that we do what's right for our government, not really right for us or our country, but whatever is good for our government, right? That's why there's over, 3,000 or 300,000 acres that have been sold to China, this, that, and other countries, and water places have been bought up by rich Chinese people. And look, I've heard this said by other people besides myself, but if we can't buy any other country's land or property, why the fuck would we ever sell any of ours? Also, why is it when we say somebody's evil, all of a sudden they are evil people? I am starting to think we have put labels on people that were not deserving of it. And unfortunately, Ghaddafi is one of them. I mean, you got to hear it for yourself, man. If this is even remotely true, this is absolutely disturbing.
Under Gaddafi, Libya had no electricity bills. Power was free for all. Loans came with zero interest, and banks were owned by the people. Newlyweds were gifted $60,000 to start a life. Education and medical treatment were completely free, and literacy rose from 25% to over 80%. If you wanted to farm, the government gave you land, seeds, livestock, even a house, all at no cost. Couldn't get treatment in Libya? The government paid over $2,000 in covered travel abroad. Gasoline cost just 14 cents per liter. Buy a car? The government paid half. Unemployed after graduation? The state paid your average salary until you found a job. Oil profits were deposited directly into citizens' bank accounts. Mothers who gave birth received $5,000. Bread? 40 loaves cost only 15 cents. And Libya had zero debt with $150 billion in reserves, now frozen globally. Gaddafi also built the world's largest irrigation project to bring water to the desert. A self-reliant Africa was rising, and that is why he had to go.
Dude, I mean, if he was really bringing, like, water to Africa, he was paying women to have children, he's giving you money when you have no job when you get out of school, I mean, paying half for your car, if even 25% of that is real, that is very impressive. And if it's because they wouldn't go on the gold standard, right? Or he's giving people water, a resource that gives them life. You can't be doing that. How else are we going to keep drilling our wells if they have endless supply of water? Again, don't believe in charities very much either. That's crazy. That's crazy. Sounds like he was a really good guy, doesn't it? So I guess the real way to figure it out would be to actually look at, you know, those books when he was ruling the country. That would really be the only way to really figure it out, right? And I'm sure none of that shit exists. Anything that he had his hands on, his signature on, I'm sure has all been destroyed, so we'll never know. But I mean, you could say that, you know, maybe he was doing things right. And like I said before, every time we say somebody's evil and they gotta go, and we run in there and we fucking blow shit up and fuck up everything and then kill the leader of the country, and then we're like, here's democracy, and it just becomes this failed state every time. I'm not saying that democracy doesn't work, but maybe the way that we try to implement it is incorrect. You know, maybe we should get away from just killing people and implementing things, and maybe actually trying to figure things out. Or maybe you just let them do whatever the fuck they're doing, and you just do whatever the fuck we're doing, right? We could just leave them alone at the end of the day. Why do they have to be on a gold standard? Why do they have to be mixed up with us? They didn't, but people needed them to be. So he died. Now, supposedly this person died too, right after showing this. This is really cool. Went missing. It's a free energy generator. And supposedly the gentleman that made this went missing after making this. It's really cool. So basically they're showing you these little jars with little balls, and they put it on a spinning wheel. And as the ball drops, it helps it rotate. Now, we did the same thing with 5 bottles, 3/4 full of liquid. You put it on the tips of a fan, give it a kick, and it starts self-generating itself by the water going from this side of the jar to this side of the jar as it spins. And then it does it each time, so it forcefully pushes itself and propels itself. And if you're watching the video, all he does is give that a little push, and that fan takes off and just starts moving. So, look, a lot of these things are popping out right now. I just saw something on Amplex, where a guy in, I'm not going to remember where it was, Zimbabwe, I think, and he was offered millions and millions of dollars by our government for his rejuvenating battery patent that he was trying to get a hold, and he decided to leave the U.S., turn that money down, work for in Zimbabwe, and he ended up producing 2 cars and a motorcycle with this thing that puts out 15 amps. You can drive it around all day, it charges itself, and then you can bring it home and plug your house in, and then you're not using electricity off the grid. You're just using it out of your car. So it generates enough power to power your house. He was poisoned. There was attempts on his life. He lives in fear of death now. But right, how many people have died because of hydrogen engines? And now Toyota's coming out with one. So I think we're finally breaching or maybe breaking through the roof, where there's so many people now that are trying to figure this out that you can't kill them all. And some of them are actually making it to the surface with this technology. And now that it's being fully documented, it's going to be everywhere. smartest thing for all of these people to do right now is just put the patent out there. I'm sorry to say that. Sure, you can get paid for it, but at the end of the day, if it's free energy, let's see the patent. Let's go. Share it. Free is free, right? Yeah, sure. I want you to make money off your product. I get that. I probably wouldn't be able to build it anyways, but don't you think everybody in the world should have access to this now? Okay, so supposedly, Flat Earth is really, really hitting the news lately. Dude, this is fucking wild. Are you kidding me? We're talking about it on the news. I mean, I guess they would have to feed into a little bit of what's going on in, on the internet and in the podcasting world. So they have to play into our game, I guess. But dude, this is funny. Are you kidding me? This is great.
Well, this might be a good conversation starter of the week, or at least an interesting one. Do you believe the Earth is a sphere? The answers you get might surprise you.
The curving horizon, the sloping sea level, the spin of the Earth. Unless you can see these phenomena with your own eyes, they may not be true. Unlike what we've been told in school, the Earth looks like a snow globe, round but not sphere. The North Pole is at the center of most flat Earth maps, with the ice of Antarctica holding everything in.
The round or spherical Earth theory is propagated by some conspiracy.
And the number of people who think so is growing. Thousands, if not millions of people still believe the world is flat.
Now, scientists say that's actually a symptom of a bigger problem, and it's the subject of tonight's special report. WCIA3's Aaron Eads is here with us now. And Aaron, as far as conspiracy theories go, flat Earth theory is actually getting pretty popular.
Yeah, believe it or not, the number of people who believe the Earth is flat is actually growing. Scientists might have an idea of why that is, and it's worth talking about. And what better place to do so than one of the flattest places in the country, right here in central Illinois. It doesn't get much flatter than this. Geological survey data shows Douglas County is the flattest county in Illinois, which is the second flattest state in the whole country. On a clear day, it seems like you can see forever, but you can't. Through the eyes of a person of an average height, the horizon is about 3 miles away. But that's it. You can go up higher to see a greater distance, but you'll never be able to see the whole world no matter how high you get. But there are ideas that this is a sham. NASA, a fraudulent organization bent on siphoning your tax dollars. The moon landing didn't happen.
Those iconic blue marble images seen from space, fakes.
You start seeing words like composite or animation or something that tells you this is not an actual photograph of the Earth.
But in a world of disagreements large and small, for something as clear as this horizon, the interpretation could be infinite.
The biggest concern with the flat Earth movement is how fast it's gaining steam. Scientists are worried that flat Earth could become a political issue like climate change, vaccination, or evolution. Guys?
All right. Fascinating stuff. All right, Aaron, thank you.
Oh, Jesus Christ, everybody. Isn't that great? I think it's great. What? They're finally all waking up. You know what I mean? Hey, it's been around longer than round Earth, everybody. It's been around longer than round Earth. You can't get mad at that. You can't get mad at that. All you can do is just, I don't know, I guess go fly in one of Elon or Jeff Bezos' rockets and go see the flat Earth for yourself. I still think that they have a way of making you see what you're supposed to see. Let's put it that way. There's a reason a story has been around longer than another story. It's usually the true story, and the story that shows up in between is the false one. It's the one that's the cover-up. That's always the way it is. That's how it works. That's why I don't believe the history anymore, or what they keep trying to tell us. I mean, it's crazy. And they keep trying to tell me that, you know, there's all these planes. Now there's a fifth plane. Well, I don't know if you remember when it happened, and I've said this a few times now, there was supposedly only one plane. Just saying. Just saying. Watch those videos again. That didn't look like a second plane, and they never found one at the Pentagon. So, check this out. This is footage from, what? From 2001. 11:02, 28, 27. Ugh. Right after the first hit.
A bomb, I saw it. No plane hit nothing. That is not a plane. They don't know what they're talking about. How would they see a plane hit that? Dude, I saw the second explosion. That was no plane that hit the second building. It exploded from the inside out.
It was a bomb. Bombed in all the building, not second plane. That was a bomb. Who said the second plane?
That's what we're told, the second plane. We saw it on television.
Everything.
All right, thanks a lot.
What happened was I was down in the basement. All of a sudden we heard a loud bang. And the elevator doors blew open. Some guy was burnt up. So I dragged him out. His skin was all hanging off. So I dragged him out and I pulled him out of the parking lot. This was what was left on it. Pulled him out. When I pulled him out, I looked up and the second bomb blew off. Just saw a big burst.
All of a sudden, you heard a loud explosion. So we all ran to look. And the first building was a big hole on the side of it, and on the other side went a plane. So we stood there in shock. Everyone's screaming. A woman collapsed on me. I had to lay her down on my textbooks. And then before you know it, out of nowhere, the next building blew up. And then all of a sudden, everyone's running all over the place. A panic attack.
We actually didn't see the second plane, but we saw the explosion hit the other tower.
That has to be a bomb, right? Yes, of course. That exploded right in front of us.
I did not see a plane. They said the plane hit the first building. The second building just exploded.
That looks like a second plane.
I did not see a plane go in. That just exploded.
Dude, these early videos, I mean, I've brought the other ones up, and when the Pentagon was hit, the same thing was said. There's no plane out there. There's no plane parts. There's nothing that indicates a plane was there. I believe these words were said, and we were made to believe that these are things that were supposed to have happened, but I don't think it's what actually happened. I don't. Those towers should have never fallen. According to every architect I've looked into that is, you know, authorized, whatever, certified, controlled collapse. So why have we been told over and over and over again that it was multiple planes when I believe there is one plane, right? Because we have some audio, right? Or do we? This is a tough one. It's a tough one because I do remember one plane, but I do not remember 5, and I know there wasn't one at the Pentagon. Watch the video on this again, but I don't know if the video I watched is original footage. I also don't know if this was doctored today, right? I just had ChatGPT draw up an entire planogram for me. That's never existed. I literally just laid it out and I had an image and it came out great. I sent it to my boss and he's like, yeah, dude, let's put that together tomorrow. You know what I mean? So this stuff is incredibly accurate in a matter of moments. I think I had that done. That would have taken me 24 to 48 hours to get all situated. It took chat like 5 minutes to generate a picture for me after I gave it all the information. Just because I wouldn't be able to draw it the same. But I digress. But I'm just saying, like, these things are popping up more and more, and it does feed into what I remember. So therefore, I feel like it's closer to the truth. This plane situation has got me bothered because you've already tried to convince me that it's planes, and now you're telling me there was a fifth one, and I don't know where the fifth one came from. There was never 4. It was only supposed to be. There was never 5. It was supposed to be 4. And truthfully, I only remember 1 that you can prove. I don't know if there's proof of the other ones. But those were definitely some type of a controlled collapse. There was no reason for Tower 7 to go down. And this is what a direct energy weapon looks like. Huh? Look at this. Look at this, dude. Look at this. This is exactly how a direct energy weapon works.
The energy weapon works. Notice how it won't melt the blue block he's got behind there. And that's a Stanley knife blade. It's made of metal. It'll burn straight through that, but it will not touch the specific color of blue.
Whoa, dude. So that's how a direct energy weapon works. I understand that. Why is it that a direct energy weapon, okay, who picked the color blue? Like, is it just the ray itself, and that just happens to be the one color that it will not activate on? Is it coincidence? Was it designed this way? And can you add orange into it? Because I don't want you to burn down my house with your direct energy weapons. I just forgot to buy a blue roof, so don't hold it against me, okay? I got another 40 years with this one. But isn't that wild? Why? How do they work like that? How was it by design? Was it by accident? Why is that blue, or blue in general, the one color that laser can't cut through or won't? That's all I want to know. Why? What's in it that's not in anything else? And I mean, it's cutting through steel, and it wouldn't touch that blue box. That's crazy. So the Battle of Blair Mountain.
The U.S. government dropped actual bombs on its own citizens, and it was to stop them from organizing against a corporation. In 1921, a town in West Virginia tried to unionize. The coal company called in the government, and the result? The largest armed uprising in U.S. labor history, and they tried to cover it up. It's called the Battle of Blair Mountain. Over 10,000 coal miners marched to demand fair pay and basic human rights. They were tired of company towns, rigged script money, and brutal conditions. But the coal barons weren't just powerful, they were connected. They hired private armies, got support from local law enforcement, and when the miners kept marching, the coal companies called in the U.S. Army and their bombers. After days of fighting, the miners surrendered. Hundreds were arrested, and the story buried. Today, Blair Mountain is barely mentioned in history books. The coal industry lobbied to erase it. This wasn't just a labor dispute. This was literal class warfare. And the people in charge made sure you'd never hear about it.
Wow. 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 That is crazy. Well, look up the Battle of Blair Mountain from 1921. They literally called in the army to stop these people. That's insane, dude. That's how much they hate the Union. I think this is how it works. This is how it works. You say you're for something that you're actually against. That way, when everybody votes you in, you can attack it from the inside, but everybody thought you were on the side of it. It's the exact same thing Trump just did. It's the exact same thing almost every president does, except we expect it from the politician. We weren't expecting it from Trump, right? Release the list. I want to throw that in there every now and then. So check this out. Eggs versus a COVID shot and bird flu outbreak. Dude, I've been eating eggs forever, and I'm so glad I have, because look at this. Egg yolks, man. Super good for you.
Egg yolks?
are protective against COVID and the vaccine. They bind to and neutralize the spike protein. Why did we never hear about that? That would seem like pretty newsworthy information, but they never told us about that. What did they do instead? Just a short while after, we had an avian flu outbreak. Killed 170 million egg-laying birds, turkeys, chickens, etc. They burned down chicken farms. So just to conclude here, a food that just so happens to block these lab-engineered spike proteins also then becomes the primary target for a sudden natural outbreak. I'm sure it's all just coincidence then. Just like how Pfizer's stock prices went up as egg prices tripled.
Tell you, there's no such thing as a coincidence, everybody. Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense, right? If egg yolk is capable of doing that, binding to the protein, is there a way to test for the fucking just the spike protein to see if it's even in your body anymore? Do I have a way to test for the COVID vaccine that I took to see if it exists inside of me anymore? Because I'm really hoping with the amount of nicotine and eggs that I eat on a daily, I should be like spike protein free at this point. Probably one of the few. Let's go. I am curious because this gets me excited, man. Because I always thought that what I did was stupid in the first place, and that natural immunity to anything is always stronger, unless, of course, it's like, you know, one of those ones that's like 90% you're dead if you get it. But this was not that. You had to have comorbidities. You had to be of a certain age for it to really affect you, and I wasn't. So therefore, this is great information to have right here. Eat your eggs, everybody. See? Now, it took me years to realize something. No, this is crazy. You know how I talked about the Peter Pan, right? Well, everybody knows I'm not really a Disney fan either. I don't really care for musicals, whatnot, but to hear some of the darker side or maybe the continuations of some of our characters that we grew up with that were a specific way. I mean, they're characters anyways. So you can literally rewrite anything you want. But this, for me, is super fun because what if the correlation between these two are true? I mean, it's kind of fun. And do remember again, they are just characters. So technically, they didn't do anything that they were, or that you've already seen them do, right? Because they didn't do that, the writers did. Just remember that. They're all characters at the end of the day. But this is super funny. I thought this was cool.
It took me years to realize something crazy in Snow White. We know the dwarfs have similar facial features, a long white beard and strong chattiness. But wait, I've always wondered why Dopey is with them, if he's way younger and overall different. Well, what if I told you he was actually found by the dwarfs after his parents abandoned him? This is why he never spoke. But there's more. After the events of Snow White, he realizes he's too different from the dwarfs and travels all the way to Italy. Here, he cultivates his passion for woodworking and cuckoo clocks, a passion he learned from the dwarfs. And guess what? He becomes Geppetto. Think about it. They have the same eye color and facial features, not to mention the clumsy behavior. And if that's not enough, why do you think Pinocchio was released right after Snow White? Mind-blowing.
That's so cool, man. What if Dopey was Geppetto? What if Dopey was Geppetto? Right? That's so cool, man. And that, like, it makes a little bit more sense with Pinocchio, right? You know, why he would wish he wanted a son. Like, it just makes the stories make a little bit more sense. But, you know, I think it's kind of crazy. I still like the evil Peter Pan a little bit more than the Dopey becoming Geppetto. But still really, really interesting. And technically, that could all be true if you want it to be. So let's see here. They buried the cure for autism. Not sure. But they wanted to blame genetics. So I wanted everybody to hear this because I'm not saying that autism is a bad thing. Look, there's autism is not a bad thing. It's just, is it something that happens? Is it something that is created, or is it something that has been created because of what we consume? I'm not sure, but like everybody else, the numbers have been increasing. And what is actually behind all of that, right? What is actually behind all of that? And is it possible to stop it?
So, have you guys ever heard of an anti-parasitic drug that brought back language, eye contact, and social connection in nonverbal autistic kids within hours and then got buried? Yeah, this one's going to shake you to your core. This is the sermon story and the key that completely blows the lid off what you thought you knew about autism. Check this out.
Have you heard of the sermon story? This might be one of the biggest medical cover-ups you've never heard of. Sermon is a drug originally derived from compounds found in white pine needles. It's been used for over 100 years to treat African sleeping sickness due to its powerful anti-parasitic properties. It works so well that the World Health Organization supplies it for free in parts of Africa. But here in the US, it isn't approved by the FDA, and the only way to get it is through the CDC under strict medical supervision, essentially making it off limits to the public. Now, here's where it gets wild. In 2017, Dr. Robert Naveau out of UC San Diego gave a single low dose of sermon to 5 boys with autism. Within hours to days, their language improved, social interaction increased, eye contact returned, and playfulness and awareness came back. One child who had never spoke said his first full sentence. These kids experienced a complete metabolic reset. However, sermon can't be patented. No one owns it, no one profits from it, and therefore the study didn't receive any funding. Dr. Naveau even went $500,000 in debt to run the study himself. And the results, well, they were essentially buried. If you search for it, you'll find fact checks and misinformation because this is so much bigger than potentially curing autism. If sermon works, it supports a massive shift in everything we've been led to believe. It would validate something called cell danger response, a theory that autism isn't purely genetic, but rather a metabolic shutdown triggered by toxins, infections, or chronic stress. If this were true, it would shatter the current medical narrative and expose a multi-billion-dollar industry on symptom management. And maybe that's why you weren't supposed to hear about sermon.
This right here is why I was able to reverse my son's so-called autism, right? Because in our case, it wasn't a life sentence. It was a set of symptoms caused by toxins, inflammation, and metabolic dysfunction. It wasn't genetic. It was environmental. It was reversible. But here's the thing, right? If sermon works, it exposes the truth that millions of us have been screaming, that millions of us already know, that our kids are not broken, that it's not genetic. Our kids are injured and they can heal.
That blows my mind, man. I've never heard of sermon. I don't know where to get it. Look it up. I'm not suggesting that you try this with your kids or what have you, but would it hurt to look into it to see if it is something that could help them? I think that if there's anything out there that can help anybody, then it needs to be talked about because everybody should have every option that's available out there to try and help whoever and whenever we need to, right? So I thought this was very interesting. I have a nephew with autism. He's incredible, and he makes great graphics and tees, and you can find him on Instagram. I'll plug him right now. Where is he? Yeah, right here, right now. Wait a minute. There we go. There's his page. So, Cryptid and Kin. All right. And he makes all kinds of, he's got sweatshirts, they got bags, stickers. This is him right here. This little Bash. I do not know where he's getting his models from, but man, that's super cool. Look at that. I mean, he's come out with a bunch of stuff. So, autism does not always limit you 100%. But if it is an environmental illness caused by toxins, wouldn't it be great to have something that could help them with that? And I mean, if you're using it to your advantage, then is it really a disability at that point? I feel like it's not, because I use my ADD, my OCD to my advantage. Do they sometimes take the steering wheel from me? Absolutely they do. But for the most part, you know, I live with it, I deal with it, and I utilize it. So at that point, it's not really the disability that they say it is, right? And I think the same thing can be said about Bash. He makes beautiful art. I love all of his stuff. And I do believe he's going to be starting a podcast and stuff like that. It's going to be great. And I'm completely and absolutely been encouraging and behind him 100% for it. I think it's awesome. Absolutely awesome. I love it. All right, everybody. So this has been a fun, wild ride for me tonight. I hope it was fun for you. This is, again, Topher After Dark, fun guy included. But I do want to thank all of my subscribers. You are definitely the reason I keep coming back week after week. If you're new, subscribe. If you want your opportunity to tell your story or be a guest on the podcast, talkinwithtopher@gmail.com. It's the official email of the podcast. Send an audio, video, or type it out. The link tree is in the description below the video, and that's where you can find all the links from today's podcast. And do remember, Rumble and Spotify have all the links. YouTube has been censoring links as well. Kind of putting that out there. It seems to be new. And I just want to thank everybody. You know, I do thank all of you for the support. As always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Enjoy your weekend. And I will talk to you next week.